All right, gang, today we're gonna bring you 3 different ways to stylize your walks in West Coast swing. These are not the most fundamental, but they're super fun and cool. So the 3 things we're, oh, by the way, my name is Brian B, and this is
Miss Emily.
All right, so the 3 different ways we're gonna style our walks are gonna be, first one is gonna be the camel walk, right? The second one is gonna be the sweep. And the third one is gonna be the shorty George. Right? So we're going to teach you how to do them, and then we're going to give you a couple of applications to patterns. So let's put our back to the camera. Talk about camel walks, Miss Emily.
So camel walks, we are going to take our first step, then we're going to kind of dig our toe of the other foot into the floor. So we take our step and we dig that toe into the floor. So it's a little bit of an abrupt stop, and your knee also pops out in the process.
And I'll also add to that there's a little bit of a hip drop. As I step on this foot, I'm going to drop into this hip, right? So I'm going to keep my, if we get real technical, this hip is moving away from this rib cage, so you get a little body rhythm, and then we're going to switch as I drop into the left hip and pop that right knee, and then I switch the other way, and I switch the other way, right? So you can practice this. It's more like a 1, a 2, a 3, a 4, so you can create a little accent, right? Instead of walking 1, 2, 3, 4, let me walk normal, and you can do the camel walk, right? If we go 1, 2, 3, 4, right? Emily creates a little bit of a punch to that. So where would an applicable place? Less applicable for leaders, right? But on the second step of like a side pass, I could do it, and more applicable for the followers. So if we do this in an applicable way, we'd have 1, 2, 3, and 4, 5, and 6, 1, 2, 3, and 4, 5, and 6. And so for me, I'm gonna talk about me as the leader first. As I do it, it's not so much the camel walk, but like because there's an accent on that 2, I can kind of accelerate into 3 and 4. So if I just did my part by myself, right, I would step out 1 and I'd have that camel walk 2. But now because this hip is dropped, there's a little bit of an acceleration into the 3 and 4, and it keeps it from being boring. From the follower's side, you walk forward a lot, so.
We walk forward a lot, and sometimes the leader extends that walk if they see that the follower is kind of getting into the groove. So, but you're still going to at least take those 2 walks. So we have 1, 2 if we're doing a right side or left side pass, 3 and 4, 5 and 6.
And you mentioned extending out, you'll get this type of stuff, you know, there's something in the music, right? And I messed up my footwork, but you get the idea, right? Second one are the sweeps. So talk to me about sweeps, because I'm going to add my 2 cents because I have a strong opinion on these.
For me, when I do sweeps, it has to do with the music. So whether it's maybe not as hip-hoppy or hard on the beat like the camel walks would be, this one has a little bit more of a flowy feel to it. So sometimes I do that on my own, sometimes it is created by the leader.
And so I'm going to do them going backwards, right, first. And so here's what I think about sweeps or rondes in general. If I just step back with this foot on this side of my body, then there's no real reason to have to sweep that foot around. But if I step this foot back at an angle, now you can see that this foot can't come straight back. It has to come around. So for me, I'm always taking a foot and putting it to the other side, so the free leg has to sweep around. So when you're adding these in, if you didn't create that angle, it would feel very much like this leg was disconnected. But if I step across myself, right, then I have to take this leg around. So my body is traveling kind of on a path straight to you. But as I put that leg to the other side, same thing going forward, if I were to go back up and go forward, right? If I just did this and swung that leg around, it's like the fire hydrant thing, right? But if I were to step across myself, now this leg has to come around, right? Megan and I also did, I'm gonna link it up here, a video on swivels, and we talked about how to track the legs. So even as we finish these, let's say going forward, right? If I stepped and went forward, right? I wanna collapse this leg in again, so I don't leave it out and wide and ugly. So let's apply this to what? Sugar push?
Yeah.
So we have 1, 2, 3, and 4, 5, and 6. And for me, I'm gonna leave this foot kicked behind. So I have to go 1, 2, and 3, and 4, 5, and 6.
I'm on the wrong foot.
Yeah, so Miss Emily will do hers. We have 1, 2, 3, and 4, 5, and 6. So one of the things that you're gonna, as you get into these styling options, what we're doing is we're playing with timing, right? So it's not just that I'm gonna go 1, 2. It's almost like 5 and 6. 1, 2, 3 and 4, 5 and 6. That makes sense? So you're gonna start to ebb and flow the timing. This is why the champion dancers, everyone says they don't do basics. They're stretching the timing so much that our brains don't understand, but rest assured they can do their basic timing. But now we get into, speaking of timing, bring back the time, old school move, the Shorty George. Yes. Story of this move was Shorty George Snowden was dancing with his partner and he whipped her out and they lost connection and they had to dance back to each other and the crowd went wild. So that is the Shorty George step. You wanna talk us through the Shorty George and then I'll give you my opinion.
Sure. So there's two parts of the Shorty George that I teach. One is the kickball change, which in and of itself is a little bit tricky. Basically, you're going to kick one foot, you're going to ball change, and then step with the alternating foot. So we have the kick and the ball. The first two parts are with the same foot, kick, ball, and then we change the weight. So that's the first part. The second part, we're going to keep our knees together and we basically go side to side as we take our steps. These are not going to be huge steps. They're also not going to be tiny steps. It's basically like a normal size step. Once we've done the kickball change, we have 1 and 2. We're going to continue to keep the knees together as we take our steps forward.
Okay, let me add my 2 cents. The kickball change part's the hard part to get into it, right? The kickball change, because when I change, I want to be on the outside. I'm going to really exaggerate this. The outside of that foot and the inside of my right foot. So when I change, I'm going to the outside of my right foot. So a good way to practice this is, Emily started us off, as I'm shifting my sides, I'm really going to exaggerate my feet. I'm on the outside part of that foot and the inside part of this foot, and then I'm switching the other way, right? So if I counted in my head, I'd go kick, ball, change, change, change. Now I have to walk forward doing that, right? So to walk forward, let's just practice this. If I step forward, I'm going to drop both knees. Emily said keep your knees together. I'm letting my knees go to my left, and then my knees go to my right, and my knees go to my left. So if I add that all in, we'd have kick, ball, change, change, change. Make sense? So practice that. Where the heck will we put it in? Well, this happens a lot, especially if you do Jack and Jills. You might spin out and leave your partner and have to dance back. Doesn't matter which foot we start on. Kick, ball, change, change, change. And if you're on the wrong foot, you do the West Coast swing wobble and then start your partner back into a basic. So there's 3 styling tips. Now, if you want 5 ways to style your anchor step, you can download that video right here. And then Megan and I did some cool videos on what to do with your arms, how to do swivels, some other styling stuff. So I'll put that in a playlist right here. See you guys on the dance floor soon.